Let's talk about the unsung hero of our digital world, data engineering. It's the powerful engine running just under the surface of pretty much everything, from your favorite streaming app to massive scientific discoveries. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how it all works.
And that really is the big question, right? We're all basically swimming in a sea of data. So how do we actually make sense of any of it? Well, there's an entire field built specifically to solve that problem, to bring order to all that digital chaos.
And that discipline, of course, is data engineering. It's not just about handling data. It's about building the entire infrastructure, all the plumbing, the highways, the whole system that allows raw data to actually become useful knowledge. And here's the bottom line. Without solid data engineering, data science just doesn't get off the ground.
So to really get a handle on this, we're going to follow data on its entire journey. We'll start with how it gets moving, then where it gets stored, how it's organized, how we make sure it's fast and reliable, and finally, we'll take a peek at where this whole field is headed next. All right, first up, the data journey begins. Data gets created in millions of places, right? Clicks on a website, transactions in a store, readings from a sensor. The very first job of a data engineer is to figure out how to get all that data from where it's born to where it needs to go.
And the way we do that is with something called a data pipeline. Honestly, the best way to think about it is as an automated assembly line for data. It just chugs along, picking up the raw materials from various sources and delivering a finished, usable product at the other end.
Now, the classic assembly line has three really famous steps. First, you extract the data. You pull it out from its source. Next, you transform it. This is where you clean it up, you standardize it, you get it into the right format for analysis, and finally, you load it into its new home. Extract, transform, load. You'll hear people call it ETL all the time. But, technology changes things. On the left here, you've got that traditional ETL flow we just talked about. But today, with super powerful cloud systems, we often flip it. We do ELT. We extract the data, we load it raw right away into our powerful system, and then we transform it using all that power. The huge difference is when and where that cleaning and shaping happens.
Okay, so our data's flowing through the pipeline. But where's it going? Once we've moved it, we need a place for it to live. And that brings us to the library of data.
You basically have two main destinations. On one hand, you have the data lake, and it's exactly what it sounds like, a massive natural body where you can just pour in any kind of data, structured, unstructured, messy, raw, it doesn't matter. On the other hand, you have the data warehouse. Think of this like a carefully curated library. Everything is clean, structured, and neatly organized on the shelves, ready for you to find exactly what you need for analysis.
Naturally, people looked at those two options and said, hey, can we have the best of both? And that's how we got the data lakehouse. It's a really cool modern hybrid that tries to give you the massive, flexible storage of a lake, but with all the smart, speedy organization of a warehouse.
So we've got our data. We've got a place to store it. Now comes the really crucial part. How do we organize it so that people can actually find things and make sense of it all? We need a blueprint.
And in the data world, that blueprint is called a schema. A schema is the formal rulebook that defines how everything is structured. It says what the tables are, what columns go in them, what type of data is allowed, and how they all connect. Seriously, without a good schema, you don't have a library. You just have a giant pile of books.
And this idea connects right back to our storage systems. A data warehouse uses what's called schema on write. That means your data has to match the blueprint before you can even put it in. It's strict. A data lake uses schema on read. You can dump anything in there, and you only apply a structure or a blueprint when you decide to actually read and analyze the data. It's a classic trade-off, rigid rules up front or total flexibility.
Now, when it comes to organizing data for analysis, there is one design that is by far the most popular, the star schema. It's built for speed and clarity, making it super intuitive to ask business questions. And it gets its name because, well, it looks like a star. You have a central table with other tables radiating out from it. Right at the heart of that star is your fact table. This is where the numbers live. It holds all the metrics and the measurements, the things you actually want to count or add up. A great way to think of facts is as the verbs of the business process. How many sales? What were the order quantities?
But numbers by themselves are kind of meaningless, right? That's where the points of the star come in, the dimension tables. These tables provide all the context. They give us the who, what, where, and when that bring our numbers to life. Things like customer names,
product descriptions, store locations, all the juicy details that let us slice and dice our data.
Okay, so our data is moved, stored, and perfectly organized. But two big questions remain. Is it actually correct? And can we get answers from it quickly? This brings us to ensuring quality and speed.
Data quality is, and I can't stress this enough, everything. If your data is wrong, every single report, every analysis, every AI model you build on top of it will also be wrong. It's all about accuracy, completeness, consistency, making sure the data is fit to be used. This isn't a one-time check, it's a constant, critical job for every data engineer.
Now let's talk speed. How in the world do you find one specific sale in a table with, say, 1 billion rows? You use indexing. It works exactly like the index in the back of a book. Instead of flipping through every single page, you create a shortcut that tells the database exactly where to go look, turning a search that could take minutes into one that takes milliseconds.
Another trick for speed is called partitioning. Imagine you have one massive table. With partitioning, you can physically chop it up into smaller, more manageable pieces based on something like date or region. So if you ask for last month's data, the system is smart enough to only scan that one small chunk, which is way, way faster.
And finally, let's look to the horizon. The world of data engineering never sits still, and there are a couple of really big ideas that are shaping where we're going next.
One of the biggest shifts happening right now is this idea of a data mesh. For a long time, you had one central data team trying to do everything for everybody. A data mesh flips that around. It says the teams that actually create the data, like the marketing team or the finance team, should own it. They become responsible for serving up their data as a reliable, high-quality product for the rest of the company.
So if you have all these different teams creating their own data products, how do you make sure they're all working and trustworthy? Well, that's where data observability comes in. This is way more than just basic monitoring. It's about having a deep end-to-end understanding of the health of your data systems, so you can catch problems like bad data or broken pipelines before they cause any damage.
So as we wrap this up, just think about this. We are creating an absolutely mind-boggling amount of data every single second of every day. But turning that raw, chaotic flood of information into something truly useful, something you can trust to make decisions, well, that doesn't happen by accident. It has to be designed. It has to be built. It has to be engineered.